Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/usingyourpower. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Welcome to Using Your Power. I'm David Wiebe, and joining me is
Maveen, Kaura.
How you doing, Mav?
I'm doing great, man. I am excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm totally powered up for this.
All right. Well, what are we talking about today?
We're having a look at why having a team is important to success, which is a topic that you originally brought to the table, and I think it's a really good one, and I know you're going to have some good points to share.
Well, for sure. And we do this podcast as a team, so I mean, it only made sense to eventually do this topic, right? So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that we split up for work-wise, and a lot of things that we both bring to the table individually. So it's a great topic to have and really showcase why having two different personalities, two different understandings really works together. So I thought it'd be a great podcast to showcase. So why don't you start off with your first point?
Sure. And I was just going to say, I think
never mind.
people are like probably familiar with Homestar Runner. I mean, it's not as prominent as it once was, but it was kind of a fun, flash site where you could watch these little animated clips and stuff like that. And that was mostly done by two people. And even Google was started by two people. So I just wanted to talk about the power of two people. But
wow, excellent. Cool, man.
Yeah. My first point was you can work on high value tasks while they handle the rest. So when you're working with a team and you have employees and you hire them on and bring them on, I think this is something entrepreneurs talk about. For some of them, it's even the first step that they even take in their business to begin that process of systematization is bringing on somebody and making a list of everything that they shouldn't be doing because they're the visionary of the business, and they should be focusing on high level tasks in business development while their employees focus on other, day-to-day activities, which are just as critical or as important as anything else, and they still need to be done, but they don't necessarily need to be done by the business owner because they may not have the skills, or they may not enjoy it, or it may not be their strength zone.
Exactly. That it's actually very close to exactly what my point was. And when you hire the right people, you do free up some time for yourself to focus on other aspects of your business so you can actually grow it as well, right? So, I mean, if you're the marketing person and you're supposed to be the CEO of your company, if you continually just focus on marketing, you're never going to really get a chance to grow your company. So you really have to eventually delegate that so you can grow. I know if you look at any successful business entrepreneur, they will eventually step away from what they used to do and teach and train other people. I know that's one thing James Shremko is huge at, is getting really good at it and then training somebody else to do it, and then stepping away and trusting that they can complete that job the way they need it done.
Exactly. And I've talked about having this business called Academy Design, and it was two guys. It started out as three guys, but it quickly diminished to two, which is fine, just the way things worked out. But we always found, because we were in design, and design is kind of one of those subjective things where some people say that looks great and other people say that looks awful. And, arts and creativity and music, all those kinds of things tend to be somewhat subjective. People like different things. I'm not a huge hip hop fan. Maveen listens to a little more hip hop, and that's okay. It's just differences in taste. But guess what? Two people working together, we can come up with better ideas. And we, especially with when we were doing graphic and web design, we were working together, and each person could just review the document or review the design and go, how about this, or could we change that, or if we just put this little thing in there, it would look great. And that's how that design process often worked. So it makes a huge difference, especially when you're stuck on a project, you're just not sure if it's any good.
Oh, for sure. And for people who've listened to this on iTunes, or if you're not listening to this on iTunes, go take a look at our iTunes page. And, we've just recently changed our logo, and it kind of made sense, right? I brought that up and said, hey, David, we are the face of our business, so why don't we put our face on our logo? So that's exactly what we did. And, when one person brings something else to the other person, we're just playing off each other's strengths, right? Maybe David's not really focused on that, but I was just, I had heard of another podcast, and I said, yeah, that makes sense. I really like that idea. And again, we are the face of our business, so why don't we represent that, who we are, and let people know what we bring and what we're going to bring to the table. So, it's exactly what you just said. When two people work together, they should offset each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think it ties into the next point too, which is you can accomplish more. You can do way more for whatever reason, I think it's somewhat magical or somewhat woo-woo to even say this, but like 1+1 isn't 2. 1+1 equals so much more when you have two people working towards a vision and a goal and are willing to put in whatever it takes to get there. So
that's 100% right. And then that's exactly what I said. Not only does the work also gets done better, and it can get done faster as well. So you can clear up the time, because now you're right, 1+1 isn't 2, it's maybe 3 or 4 or 10 or 20. It's kind of like that 10x idea, right? If you work the idea and if you just keep working harder and harder, things just seem to get done faster, and your results just end up being a lot bigger.
Exactly. And then I think that leads to, getting the support that you need. Sometimes we don't have the accountability that we need. Sometimes we just don't have other people helping us with the little details of things that we maybe need to take care of. Either, you talked about tax seasons in the last episode. I mean, that's something that could easily slip through the cracks when you're trying to get more business and when you're trying to market your business. It could be anything, right? It could just be a little oversight or a misspelling in an advertisement, and that could, in a weird way, that could ruin everything, right? Because that could be a swear word instead of being like the word that you meant to say in that ad, and all of a sudden people are now have a different image or a different thought about who you are and what you're doing. So, I mean, hopefully, whoever's publishing that ad is smart enough to see and reach out to you in the first place, but you don't want to make little mistakes like that unnecessarily.
No, for sure, and especially with spell check, right? Not everything really does get caught, because a lot of times spell check will say, hey, yeah, that's a real word, but it doesn't necessarily understand the context of how that word's being used. So you might end up with a swear word when you really didn't need one, but it made sense to spell check. So absolutely agree with you on that. So, one thing I do like about is dividing up the workload, right? I know with us, like, I think we kind of mentioned that a little bit, but we kind of have a plan of action, how we're going to attack, each podcast that we do. And now we're obviously starting our a business off together. We're thinking about just kind of the tying all that in together now with the podcast, and not just a product, but maybe actually having a physical location business down the road. But we got to start somewhere, and we have a potential to start with a PR campaign, which I think is excellent. So, but in order to do that for the first time, we're going to have to divide up our workload and really figure out what you're good at, what I'm good at, and not only just focus on doing those, but it's also saying, hey, David, if you're not good at this, I want you to focus on that, because I want you to get good at this as well. Because if we're both really good at both sides of the business, eventually we can step away from it, hire other people, and then we can go focus on developing, the business itself, and not worrying about the back end stuff.
Absolutely. And I think it's worth noting for our listeners that, it's kind of an offshoot of things that we were already doing. Like, I launched a PR thing with the Music Entrepreneur, and no sooner did I do that when people started to go, yeah, I mean, I need that. And they started raising their hand and saying, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Or even if it's not exactly what they're looking for, they know that they can customize the approach, and I'd be willing to do that for them to put together a PR campaign. So that's kind of how this whole thing started. But I mean, creating offshoots off of things that you're already doing and people actually want from you is, I mean, you got to watch out and listen to what people want. I think that's the only way to really build a successful business. And even Derek Sever says that if it's not necessary and people aren't raising their hands telling you we want this, then why are you spending so much time at it, right?
Well, exactly. And I think that goes right into what I'm saying is we bring different strengths, and everybody brings different strengths to the team and brings different ideas to the table, right? And it's exactly what it was. You brought an idea to the table, and even today I was like, hey, I want to expand on your idea. So I was like, hey, why don't we also do this? Why don't we set up a full business? Because we both understand that podcasting is not huge in Calgary. So we have a huge potential in the market right now to grow not just the web design side of it, the podcast side of it, but we've understood how Own the Race course works, and we could really implement that into our business and help other businesses, business to business in Calgary, implement the things we know, because they're not going to go spend the time and hire people off the internet to it, because they really want to focus on people, like I was saying, handshakes, right? People love handshaking, they love the face-to-face. So that's what we're going to get good at, because that's how we're going to be able to work as a team and develop the company, I believe, to be huge in Calgary, and one day potentially even online, and big online as well.
Yeah, and I think it's getting results. That's the amazing part. I've started implementing this stuff and have been working with it for a while. And this is 2017, guys. I'm starting to see comments on my blogs. I'm starting to see more interaction on my social media posts. I'm getting people who aren't just, buy one thing, talk to you once, get out of there, never see them again kind of stuff. I'm starting to see people who are actually following, right? Don't call them followers unless they're actually following you, because that's not real, right? Those are inflated fake numbers that we often see on social media. I mean, I'm just saying that. Don't be discouraged, right? It might be, it sounds crazy, but you might need 1,000 for every one true follower. And that's just the way things are.
No, you're right, and that's how it is, right? And even with that, I'm going to take this on a little bit different point. For our team of two, like myself and yourself, David, one of the things I know we can do, and just like the listeners can do, is utilize other businesses that are able to help us accomplish what we're looking to get done as well, right? So just because we're in a niche market, for example, we're talking about recordings, right? So we can be the person who does the video recordings in our business, or we can be smart about it and hire somebody else's expertise to do the recording, the editing, and everything, saving us time to really focus on doing the things that are going to make us a success, right? And so if you haven't heard that last episode on why you're not succeeding, that's kind of why we're saying it, because when you focus too much of your time on all of it, you don't have the time to focus on the right thing. So that's what we're going to do, is partner up with the right people who can also then give us the advantages we are looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm already working with skilled contractors, so that's really just an extension of that. We can leverage our network. We know photographers, we know people who are in video, we know people who edit audio and all that kind of stuff. So there's no shortage of contacts that we can leverage in that way, and they'd be happy to do it too, because they want to get that income for themselves.
Oh, absolutely, right? I mean, I think that's a great idea. Leverage people because not only do you leverage their expertise, maybe they haven't started a business, but maybe you'll push them into starting a business as well that they really weren't thinking about, that you kind of just pushed them into it, and now they become a success as well. So how cool is that when you can get people to kind of help you out and bring them up as well, right? So kind of, I know I've killed this saying many times, but it is true that rising tide does raise all ships, right? So that's kind of what we're going to be doing, I believe, with this idea, because I know lots of people, especially in music and marketing and whatnot, and online. I know you write for different publications, so we have the opportunity here to utilize everything that we've been able to do. I've worked at all these different jobs, and we can really take all that now and combine it into a business sense and help other people come on our journey at the same time. So I'm really excited.
No question, man. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And I mean, the only other point I had was something that you already brought up there, Mav. So, I mean, I'm just reinforcing the point at this point. But, people who are strong where you are weak. And I think that's really the whole point of bringing on a team. Even guys like Robert Kiyosaki say, hey, I'm not the smartest. I just bring on people who are smart and know their respective areas, right? People like accountants or people who are in law. Lawyers. So just bringing on that team and not having to be, directly involved in those different aspects enables him to focus on the things he needs to do and what he's good at, instead of having to dabble in law and dabble in accounting and dabble in marketing or whatever else.
Yeah, exactly. Henry Ford said the exact same thing, right? He didn't want to know how to build a 12-cylinder engine. He didn't know how to, but he hired the people that did. And everybody who said, it's impossible, it can't be done, he fired them, right? Until he found the right people that could do it. And eventually he did it. And now look at all the awesome cars that we have, right? I know a couple of episodes back I mentioned I was at the car show, and it's exactly how it was, right? Because of one man's dream, we have all this awesome technology in our hands. One thing I just wanted to kind of add to your point that you said too, David, is anytime you have a team of 2 or 3 people or whatever that number is, a small team, is you want to also be able to utilize some of the tools that are available to you for people, for example, that are overseas. You can definitely find some great teams in the Philippines or in China or India who are willing to work with you and have the expertise and have the understanding and can potentially do the job better and cheaper than someone in North America. So, I mean, as a team, you can definitely utilize Canada and US. I think we do need jobs here as well, but there are some great people overseas as well that we can leverage and grow your business with.
Yeah, and you're still helping people when you do that, right? A great book on the subject is Virtual Freedom by Chris Ducker, definitely worth checking out. And I think I've talked about that book before, but when you're ready to hire a virtual team, I think that's a good go-to book. And I think he even has a service that can set you up with virtual assistants in the Philippines. And it really can make a difference in their lives. And again, like Mav said, it's not like we wouldn't want to make a difference in people's lives here too. That's all part of the equation, I think. But sometimes if you know, those kinds of tasks can cost a lot of money, and being able to save that as a business owner is a huge thing.
Especially when you're in the starting off process of your business as well, right? And it only makes financial sense, right? All businesses do it, big or small. They all leverage people all over the world, right? You know, look at the big companies like Nikes and the Walmarts and the Amazons, and they, you know, the storage of where some of these things are kept is sometimes in countries like U.S. and then sometimes maybe they keep a lot of their stuff in China. I don't know, right? But I mean, they leverage every aspect of their business so they can, you know, build for their shareholders, they can collect dividends and payouts and ensure that their business keeps growing, and they can keep up with the ability to you know, generate new ideas and products, and keep hiring more people, right? Because if you can hire people and pay them a little bit less, I know a lot of people don't like that concept, but you can really make an impact in a lot more people's lives if they're working versus not working.
Absolutely. Do you got any other thing to share on this, Mav?
No, I'm ready to wrap up, man.
All right, great. Well, this has been Using Your Power. You can find us at usingyourpower.com. Feel free to leave a comment on our site or on YouTube. You can also connect with us via Facebook and download our free course, 10 Simple Ways to Unleash Your Personal Power. And you can find us on any podcast service or catcher.
And right on.
Talk to you again soon.
Have a great day.